All right. Moon Knight. He's a new character in the MCU. Probably one of the most obscure characters that they've ever dealt with or introduced to us so far. Do you know anything about Moon Knight?
Not a lot. So I had to do a couple of deep dives into his character,
Sure.
get a feel for his power sets and just what he was actually capable of, so I can kind of get an idea of what the show is going to be about and what to expect. Is this going to be more like street level, superhero, god, mythical aspect? So I actually have some information for you. So
Okay.
Moon Knight, 6'2", so that's as Mark Spector
Okay,
or Moon
yeah.
Knight. So that's kind of big for a person walking up on you.
That's an intimidating physique.
225.
Okay.
So he got some weight to him. He's not.
Yeah.
So if he's fighting regular people, I feel like he will do fine against just the regular big guy, the muscle man.
Yeah.
On Marvel.com, they have ratings, and it's on a scale from 0 to 7 about power sets. So
Their strengths? They have power levels?
yes. So for durability, Moon Knight got a 4.
Okay.
Energy 1. Fight skill 3. Intelligence 3. Speed 3. And then strength 4.
Uh-huh. So he's kind of down the middle, average kind of.
Right. And so for comparison, I did Captain America, Blade, Spider-Man, and Black Panther.
Uh-huh.
Durability for Cap is 3. So he's more durable than Cap.
No shit.
Spider-Man durability is 3.
What?
More durable than Spider-Man.
Who makes up these numbers?
I was thinking that too as I was going through some of them. Black Panther durability 3.
So he's more durable than all of them? Well, I guess he does take that beating at the end. He does fall out of a fucking castle at one point.
But equal durability to Blade.
Oh.
And also I had another guy, Daredevil.
Yeah.
Daredevil's durability is 2. So he's much more durable than Daredevil.
Daredevil can
Yeah.
get his ass handed to him and then still get up to fight.
The only thing I'm thinking about with Daredevil is a lot of the people he's fighting are heightened like humans.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not fighting supernatural people a lot of the time. So I feel like that's kind of where they're starting to divvy the line.
Daredevil doesn't really have any supernatural abilities either.
Right.
Aside from his heightened sense, I guess.
Okay, so essentially he has equal energy level with everyone except for Black Panther, who has 3. So everybody else had a 1, including Spider-Man, which I thought Spider-Man energy is 1. I was like, okay.
That's ridiculous.
And they gave Daredevil energy 4. So I'm thinking is this endurance? Is this stamina? How long can they just keep going? You know what I mean?
Okay.
So kind of going a little bit faster. Fight skill for Mark Spector 3. Cap is 6.
Yeah.
Spider-Man is 4. Blade is 5. Black Panther's 5.
It makes sense.
And Daredevil's 5. So he can't fight as well as those other guys, but kind of getting your gauge a little bit better. Intelligence, he's as intelligent as Captain America.
I guess he can be a little naive. He's not of this time. Yeah.
Right. That's what I think. He's just his moral compass might be affecting his intelligence level.
Times were simpler during his time.
Exactly. So he's not as intelligent as Spider-Man. He's better than him by 1 point. He has 1 point on Blade, so Blade's not that intelligent. He is far less intelligent than T'Challa, Black Panther, who has an intelligence of 5. And this goes up to 7, so I didn't check out Iron Man to see if Iron Man just had a 7 already.
I wonder if Black Panther's sister would have a 7 or something.
Bruce Banner had a 5.
See, who's the 7 then? Who's the?
I'm thinking it has
Who
to
are
be
they
just
waiting for?
Iron Man.
Because Spider-Man's a smart guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. He got a 4.
But he's a kid though. He's young. I mean, after No Way Home, he makes some mistakes.
Yeah.
He's a kid.
Daredevil had a 3, and so just kind of going back through it faster. He's faster than Cap. He's faster than Blade. He's faster than Black Panther. He has equal speed to Spider-Man, and he's faster than Daredevil. He's stronger than Captain America, which I thought was really interesting.
That's bullshit.
He's as strong as Blade, as strong as Spider-Man, stronger than Black Panther, and then stronger than Daredevil.
That's so wild.
So I took the average because it's 6 categories, and so
Damn, you made charts.
I made a little chart, yeah. Moon Knight has a 3.
Uh-huh.
Cap has a 3. Spider-Man was a 3.2. Blade was a 3. Black Panther was a 3.5. And then Daredevil was a 3.2. So he's in the realm of these people, which is good to know. So it's like, all right, if he meets anybody else from the MCU,
he can hold his own.
He's going to be able to hold his own.
Okay.
I also found out some more crazy things where, like, just kind of getting a scope of his powers. I guess at one point in the comics, he was in control of the Dark Phoenix.
What?
Yeah, he's wielded Mjolnir.
Really?
Which I thought was insane.
I just read an interesting comment. There was a theory going around that to be worthy of Mjolnir, you have to believe you're worthy of Mjolnir. So, like, for example, Tony Stark trying to lift it in Age of Ultron, he never thought he would have been able to, no matter how narcissistic he really is, because, you know, he does have a good conscience and he knows the bad things that he's done. So he never thought he could lift it. Yeah, so that's interesting.
And even bringing on, like, Cap, I feel like it was that wiggle. That wiggle was just like,
yeah,
I'm a good guy. Like, what have I done?
I could do this.
And then it's like, oh, yeah, I guess I didn't tell him about that.
I always imagined that little wiggle being Cap humbling himself and choosing not to embarrass Thor in front of everyone. That was my interpretation of the scene. Because come on, he's worthy.
Okay. Also, he's from Chicago.
Moon Knight?
Yes.
Well, which one, Mark or Steven?
Okay, so that's something that I had a question about.
Yes.
Who do you think is the main person?
Damn. Okay. So that's exactly what I was gonna ask you, because I don't know anything about Moon Knight. I've never read any of his related comics. I'm aware of him. Like,
right.
I knew he existed before this. I knew he had a personality disorder, but that's it. So, watching the show, I really couldn't figure out who was the main body, because at first I thought it was Mark, because throughout the show, the Egyptian god who seems to be talking with Mark,
right?
They call Steven the idiot. Oh, the idiot's back in control. The parasite. Oh, he's back. So clearly they don't want him there. But in his apartment, Mark seems to hide his belongings from Steven. So would Mark go through all that effort? And then, but Steven seems to have his own life. I mean, he has a job. He calls his mom frequently. If he wasn't a real person, why would he call his mom? To be fair, his mom never answers. But then who the fuck is he calling? So I don't know. My instinct says it's Mark's body, and then Steven is some sort of defense mechanism to protect his mind from the Egyptian gods or whatever. But I mean, I could be convinced otherwise. I'm not totally 100% on that.
So, what tripped me up were kind of two things that you pointed out.
Yeah.
Steven calls his mom, and you never hear her.
Right.
So, like, does she actually exist? But he also has a job. So, am I like, does he have, like, a social security card? Does he have,
right,
like...
you gotta put that shit down.
Does he have... Maybe he faked it. He could have faked it or something like that. I don't know.
I don't think Steven's smart enough to fake it.
So
I think as soon as Steven realized he didn't have a social security number, he'd be freaking out.
That's true. All right. So another thing, Khonshu, I feel like he has a connection with Mark. So that tells me that Mark is either the main guy or the first person to meet Khonshu, however he gets his powers.
Yeah.
Because he would not give his fucking powers to Steven.
That's right. Do you think Khonshu knew about Steven when he gave his powers to Mark?
I don't think
so. Maybe Steven was created after he met Mark. Man.
I don't think he would. Like, I feel like he must have been really fucking desperate. Whatever the overarching theme or goal for Khonshu is, he would have to be really desperate to know that Mark has multiple personalities and still give him the power. So maybe this is something where he's like, this is the best option he had, and he needed to do it? Or...
Well, because how coincidental is it then Khonshu, being an Egyptian god, gave his powers to Mark, who happened to have a split personality of someone who's fucking obsessed with like Egyptian culture and works at an Egyptian museum. That's why it's like, is Steven like a part of Mark?
I wish I knew more about the character going in. I don't want to look too much because I don't want to like ruin the show for me.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know anything about Moon Knight, so I don't want to spoil it for myself. This is like the first time, even though I don't know anything about like the TVA when I was watching Loki.
Right.
I still had a good idea of what was going on, that like Kang was behind everything.
Same.
This is the only time I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is happening or where this is going. This is like really obscure like content. And so like it is interesting to see, because like I'm a hardcore sweaty nerd and like this is like right up my alley. So the fact that Marvel is making this show for mass audiences, people who would never pick up a Moon Knight comic book, let alone someone like me who is somewhat familiar with them, is like kind of bold and brave. And I guess they're at that point, so it doesn't even matter. But I don't think I want to read too much into it, because I don't know where the show is going.
I have no idea. And so I just want to get a skim of like, all right, what can he do?
Yeah.
How strong is he? Who could I compare him to? I've heard people say he's like Marvel's Batman, and I was like, I don't know about that one.
I don't know. I think that comparison, I think maybe when the character was first created for the comics and by his design, he was meant to like visually kind of represent Marvel's Batman. But I think over the course of time, when they started developing his story and then his past, and then they implemented the Egyptian god storyline, it just totally went like in a completely different direction that Marvel didn't expect. And that's fine. Marvel doesn't need a Batman. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, they don't. So to answer your question, I think Mark is the main guy. Because just with Khonshu giving Mark the powers, and they seem to be like on the same page. Also, the only people that we hear about that like know of Mark or Steven outside of their job or the job is the person he talks on the phone with, who calls him Mark.
That's true.
And it seems to be like whenever we flash forward or jump to a new place, Mark or someone else is in control.
Yeah.
So Steven seems to be just stuck, like you said, fixated on Egyptian history. He works in the museum, and like Mark doesn't give a fuck. Like, this is boring. I could care less.
Yeah.
But as soon as like something of interest, like that beautiful woman pops in, he's like, okay, I'm gonna take over for a little bit.
So now it's funny. Do you think, how did she not know that Mark didn't have an accent, and then at work Steven has the accent, and then just on top of that, what do you think of the accent?
Okay.
It's not the best.
No, it's
not terrible.
It's not terrible. It sounds like someone's trying to fake a British accent.
Yeah. Yes. It doesn't sound natural.
No.
And it's so weird. It works the other way. So like Tom Holland is British, but he pulls off that American accent flawlessly. But like if you didn't know he was British and you heard him like in an interview, you'd be like, holy shit, Tom Holland is British. Whereas I feel like if you're watching this show and you don't know that Oscar Isaac is American, you'd be like, that guy, that's not his accent. Like, what's going on? What is he doing?
Yeah, exactly.
That being said, so yeah, I think it's weird, and it takes some time to adjust to. But I think, I did eventually get used to it. I think it helps that like everyone else around him has an accent anyway, because it kind of evens out the fact that he kind of sticks out.
Yeah. How did you feel about the portrayal of the multiple personalities? I was wondering how they were going to pull that off.
I think it's okay. I mean, I don't know anyone in real life with like multiple personalities, so I don't really know like how that's perceived in real life. The only two things that come to mind are the movie Split and Venom. I don't know if it's when I watch it, if it's pulled off like he has multiple personalities, or if he has like something just inside of him. Because there's a point where either Khonshu or Mark doesn't let him let go of the scarab.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, well, how much in control of his own body is he really then? And could they just push him out of his own mind? If they clearly can control some parts of his body.
Right.
So I don't know. I got some Venom vibes with hearing Khonshu in his head, and he does act like weird and sweaty as he's running around.
Yeah.
It seems like a British Tom Hardy running around, and that's not like the best comparison to make. I think it works better here though, because the world does seem to be a little bit more grounded than Venom, whereas like everything in Venom is just silly and stupid and nonsensical, and Tom Hardy's jumping into a lobster tank, whereas nothing that silly happened here yet. So I kind of buy how they're portraying the personalities.
The one thing that I wanted to know, which is something you touched on, is how in control is Steven when he's in control versus Mark or Khonshu? And it does seem to be where they're not fighting each other for control. Like at the end scene, Mark asked him, like, let me take over.
For permission, right.
For permission, in a sense where he couldn't do it if Steven didn't let him.
Yeah.
And in that case, would they have died?
Could they have died? Like if the Egyptian dog was like beating the shit out of him, could Mark have taken over? Because I mean that happens or earlier in the show where Mark starts like freaking out, or is that like Mark's freaking out so hard he like has a panic attack and like passes out, and then Mark is just able to come in. I don't know. I will say though, it's intriguing enough. Obviously, it has my attention. I want to know more, which is what you want to do for a first episode. You want to hook your audience in. So I think they explored enough in the first episode to keep me engaged without being like super confused. Like I get it. I get it. He's split personality, something with an Egyptian god. Okay, whatever. Just explain a little bit that more in the next few episodes, and you got me. I'm on board.
I also thought it was interesting how I'm watching the show, and anytime I'm watching like a superhero movie or work, it's like, okay, let me see them fighting. Let me see them in their powers. Let me see them in a costume. Yeah. And while I wanted to see Moon Knight, the show was entertaining with it just being the humans.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for the next episode to see if we get more Moon Knight, to see how they kind of blend that going forward. But as far as just the storytelling, it's captivating enough even if he didn't have superpowers. Just the mystery behind the show and the characters is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure we will probably end up seeing a lot more action scenes with Moon Knight in full costume in the next episode. After I had watched the first episode, I went back and I rewatched the trailer, and I was fascinated to see how much of the trailer only took clips from that first episode. So honestly, in everything that Marvel has been showing us about this show, it has been shown to us already. Like, the only thing that's really left involves a fight scene with Moon Knight at night. I think it's outside the museum. Okay. I assume it probably takes place shortly after what we just saw at the end of the first episode. So I think the next episode's going to start with probably an action scene. And then the rest of the show is just a fucking mystery. And I think that's pretty cool. That's awesome. So I don't think you have to worry about seeing the action. I don't know what else to expect at this point. Like, what are we going to see? What sucks is that, this review is coming out so late that the second episode will be out by the time this gets posted out onto the internet.
That's true.
So,
what I also want to know is more about Ethan Hawke's character.
Oh,
How did he get his powers? Is there a god that's talking to him? How much does he know about the Egyptian mythology? Because he clearly has the power, and he knows how to use it, and he kind of seems like he knows about Mark Spector being at least different because he couldn't judge him.
I think it might be a similar situation to the one that Mark/Steven finds themselves in, because when he confronts him in the gift shop, he says something along the lines of, "Are you tired of hearing the voices in your head too?" So, like, maybe the same way that Khonshu is speaking through Mark, Amit is speaking through Ethan Hawke's character, and has, like, the same way Mark can channel into Khonshu's powers and abilities, Ethan Hawke can conjure up some of Amit's abilities as well. And that'd be interesting too. How old is Ethan Hawke's character? Has there been previous ones other than him? I mean, he has a cult following of people who have the same tattoo, so
Right.
maybe, maybe if Ethan Hawke's character were to die, Amit would go on to the next follower he deems worthy and go from there. That being said, I don't know anything about this character either. I don't know anything about Moon Knight as it is. I know even less about this character that Ethan Hawke is portraying. And I think that's deliberate. I think I heard somewhere that because these characters are so obscure, the actors were kind of allowed to portray them however they wanted. Like, the British personality or the British accent was Oscar Isaac's idea, and they kind of rolled with it as they were shooting.
Huh.
I heard the beginning of the episode, Ethan Hawke breaking glass and putting it into his shoe. That was his idea.
What's behind that? What was the point of that?
No fucking idea. I couldn't tell you. Is he a masochist? Like, I don't know. Is it symbolic?
Like, is he, like, flanging himself? Like is he...
Is he judging himself in some way?
Right, like repenting for like something he's done? Is he... Because he's killing people.
Does he not like what he's doing, but there's an Egyptian god in his head, so there's nothing he could do about it? I don't know.
I have so many questions, and I think this is a sign of a good show where the obscurity, the wanting to know more, I'm hooked. I'm definitely hooked on Marvel. So far, the content they've been putting out for their TV shows has been fantastic.
So this is what I wanted to talk about. So people have been asking me what I think about it. The episode, and I'm like, yeah, I think it's all right. And every time I say that, people are like, what? I thought it was really good. It's really interesting. And I'm like, I'm not saying it's not that.
Okay.
However, I've been let down by the way these Marvel shows end. So I think they start off really good, and then they can't quite stick the landing. And it's more so with the last few shows, with Hawkeye and What If. There seems to be a pattern of, like, you introduce what's going on, you kind of stretch out that story for the first 4 episodes, and then in the 5th episode, you introduce who the real villain is,
Yeah.
and then they die in the finale anyway, which is like, what?
Right.
What was that? In Hawkeye, they did it with Kingpin. Stupid. I hate that. The decision.
Is Kingpin dead?
I don't believe he's dead, but why even pretend to lie to me that he's dead? I know what you're doing, Marvel, so why are we doing this dance? You're going to show... If you want Kingpin to be the villain, just let him be the villain of the show. Let him... They did it in What If, where Ultron comes at the very end.
Yeah.
They did it in WandaVision, where it's Agatha. She's at the end. Even in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Flag Smashers, they're introduced in the beginning, but at the end, they weren't really the bad guys. It was the power dumb. I hate this, because they're all doing this. Even Kang shows up out of nowhere in Loki. I don't want to be completely, like, invested with, like, the villain that Ethan Hawke is building, just for them to kill him off, and then someone else is the villain at the finale for no reason. And I'm just, why?
Yeah.
They did it in Boba Fett too, when Cad Bane shows up just to kill him. I'm getting really fucking frustrated with this.
You can't kill... Alright, so if Batman's getting anything right,
Yeah.
he's not killing his villains so they can keep making Batman content.
Yeah.
You lose Cad Bane. You potentially lose Kingpin. You lose... Did Agatha die?
No, she got her... Not her memory wiped. Wanda kind of... She did something to her mind. I think she's, like, under a spell right now, where she just thinks she's just a normal person.
Right. Power Broker's still alive. And then also the fake Captain America's still there. Flag Smashers are pretty much eliminated. I'm trying to think of the other
But it's like,
villains.
why? So, like, if any of these shows go on to have a second season, then it's like... Then it's going to be the real story of what these villains can do. But it's like, why wasn't that just the first season?
Okay.
Why wasn't...
So I don't think these shows are going to get... Well, I know Loki has a second season.
Loki is, and What If does.
But I feel like for Loki, even though they killed Kang, we know there's so many variants that it's like, we could just variant Kang. We just pull this out our ass and, like, not have to, like, really think about anything, like any story plot. So, like, his character death wasn't as impactful as some of these other characters. But so I know Oscar Isaac only has contract for these, I think, 6 episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what that means for Moon Knight and his character and how he fits into the larger MCU. Is this just a like see how this does and like see what the fan response is, and then maybe we'll extend it or like just incorporate him in some way? Or is this kind of just like a way to breach in more obscure characters? Because even is it Miss Marvel?
Yeah.
She's getting her own show, and I knew nothing about her until I played the Marvel video game. I have mixed feelings about that.
Sure,
but,
that's a different conversation. Yeah.
But yeah, so I have no idea what their plan is and how they plan to tie in obscure characters like Moon Knight, or even some of like the what if content.
I think it could be a little bit of both, trying to bring more obscure content out there, see what sticks with people, see what they like. Miss Marvel is confirmed to be coming back. She's going to be in the Captain Marvel sequel.
Okay.
So that's that. I think in Oscar Isaac's case, it probably had something to do with he just got finished with the Star Wars trilogy, and I don't think he had the experience that he probably wanted to have. I mean, the reception on those movies are mixed, to say the least.
Yeah.
So I don't think he wanted to be locked in like a 9-picture deal, and he had to be forced to do these things if he stopped enjoying it after a while.
Right.
Which is fair. I do think that he probably will be back. I think the writer of the show has admitted to saying that the plan, and I don't know if this is like an official plan or if it's just like him thinking, yeah, this is where the direction I was heading as I was writing it, is to eventually incorporate him into like an Avengers movie.
Okay.
Whether that is the next Avengers movie, or I mean, who knows what the next Avengers movie is even going to look like.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, the plan is to incorporate him more into the proper MCU canon. They're just kind of waiting to see what the fan reaction is at this point. That'd be my guess.
Okay. So, next question.
Yeah.
Do you think Moon Knight will be connected to the Eternals in any kind of way?
Man, I don't know who the fuck is going to be connected to the Eternals. We're
in London.
That's true. See, I want to know, because I think technically on the timeline as it exists right now, the events of Eternals takes place before Spider-Man and Hawkeye.
Okay.
Which is weird to me, because at the end of Eternals, God himself appears and he parts the sky and he says, to all mankind, I shall return to judge. And that's pretty fucking terrifying.
Yes.
So it's weird to me that everyone just carried on and went out about their life perfectly normally after that. Like, no one's fucking freaking out, having like existential crises after that. I think Moon Knight takes place after Hawkeye.
Okay.
So if Eternals takes place before, I'm not sure how many references we will get. That being said, I think they're saving something, because Disney often gives like screeners to critics before the show comes out, so they could start spreading the word of mouth. And they gave critics the first 4 episodes. So there are people out there who have seen the first 4 episodes of the show already, and it's like 4 out of 6. Like, what's happening in episode 5?
Right.
Some shenanigans are going to go down in episode 5, and it probably will involve some characters that we do know already. And it'll probably give them that pop that they like at the end of the finale. I hope it's not a villain. I hope it's a team up. I hope it's a hero that we know that Moon Knight teams up with. I've heard rumors on who people think it might be. I don't know if you want that spoiled, just in case it is true.
No, tell me.
I've heard Mark Ruffalo might show up.
Ooh.
So that's interesting. He's going to be in She-Hulk, which is coming up pretty soon.
Yes.
So that might set up that show, which is coming. So that's fairly interesting. I'd like to see a hero in these shows.
I would agree.
Instead of like a villain switcheroo. I'm tired of the villain switcheroos. Just stop it. So I don't know where Mark Ruffalo and the Hulk fit into all of this, but it'd be interesting to see, I guess.
I'm interested to know how all of like the deities
Yeah.
and mythology of this Marvel Cinematic Universe either coincide, know of each other,
Hmm.
because Thor knows a lot about like the mythologies of the world. He's a god,
Yeah.
so he knows of the god. Does Thor know of Khonshu,
Or vice versa. Does
or vice
Khonshu
versa? Right,
know about Odin and Odin's grandfather? How old are they?
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. And then pulling back in Eternals, they knew about
that's true.
Thor.
Yeah.
And if you're here from the start of civilization in that same general Middle Eastern area,
Yeah, that's fair.
you would have to know about the other deities that were popping up, whether or not they were as strong, stronger than.
Yeah.
Like, they have to know each other. All the gods have to have, like, a little club that they meet up at and talk about the shit that they've done.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're called, gods for a reason. If they're here from, ancient civilizations, you
Right.
would think some of them cross paths eventually. Do the Greek gods exist? Zeus,
Hercules.
Hercules. So I think some version of them will probably pop up one way or another. I don't know if this show will tie into Eternals. I think the Eternals movie itself did a bad job of explaining, or didn't do a good enough job of explaining where they were throughout the events of human history, or why
Yeah.
they didn't intervene during certain events. So if they want to retcon some of that stuff, it probably will have to be in shows that are unrelated to Eternals, because Eternals itself was received much more negatively than they probably thought.
Yeah. They could have. I don't know. That's a hard concept to try to, like, wrap around. That's something that needed to have been, like, brought on so much earlier.
Yeah,
Just-
and
just-
even they could have explained it so much better. I don't know.
Yeah.
They had time to,
They had
to
time.
make the movie. I
They
don't
had plenty of time.
understand. And I
All
was
right.
willing to give them the benefit of the doubt with like where they were and what they were doing this whole time. I guess they were just chilling for no reason.
Just watch. It's like, damn, that's crazy.
Because at least like Khonshu and Amit, they've been around obviously, but clearly as
Yeah.
we're introduced to them in the show, they have goals. They're
Yes.
trying to do something, and with what we're seeing them trying to do, it hasn't been revealed yet, but it just hasn't affected what we've been seeing in the MCU so far.
Right.
Whereas opposed to the Eternals, just weren't doing a goddamn thing the whole time.
Not a damn thing.
Right.
And it's interesting to see gods and essentially whether or not they're actually adversaries or if they just have conflicting objectives.
Yeah.
Like, because they have to know of each other. I don't know what spiritual realm they occupy themselves in outside of, like, our human plane.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to be aware of each other.
I would think so. And then this got me even more confused because I started thinking about X-Men, which I know I shouldn't be doing, but I mean that's a rabbit hole in and of itself. But because Apocalypse was the first mutant,
Yeah.
and in Days of Future Past, which is a different canon, but it was established that he built the pyramids with his power. So was he aware of the Egyptian gods? And or conversely, the Egyptian gods aware of him and they allowed him to gain as much power as he did? And then were the X-Men then aware of... Oh man, it gets so confusing.
It gets crazy. You start to really, like, dig deep and it's like, how the fuck? Like, why don't you do anything? And just spiraling. All right, so bringing out of that deity god little wormhole, the costume change. How do you think that happens? In my head, I'm picturing like a Shazam, like, and it's just on. It just has to be just on. I can't see him like putting on like the hood and then the suit. Like,
I mean, yeah, it seems like it wraps around him as if it probably is coming out of a different dimension. I almost wonder if it's not even on him. Like if he just pictures himself like wearing a suit, like it's in his head.
right.
I don't think they would do that. I mean, it would be funny for like a visual gag if like
Yeah.
we just cut to like Steven just beating the shit out of someone.
And he's fucking naked or some shit.
Yeah. I think they'll probably just... I don't even know if they'll explain it. And that's the thing. I don't know like how much of this are they actually going to explain. Are they going to explain that Mark or Steven are the proper host of the body, that the Egyptian gods have been around, and do they know the other gods? in human history. I don't know how much they're going to explain. Some of that kind of worries me because then that's exactly why I feel like some of these shows don't quite stick the landing, because you introduce all of these crazy and weird concepts,
Right.
and then you just end abruptly.
Yeah, it's just like, don't focus on that. Don't just stay right here where I'm guiding you. Don't look to the sides.
Right.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting idea.
I mean, it's it coming from a different dimension. I mean, I guess it's better than like seeing just nanotechnology, because I'm kind of getting sick of like seeing that. I mean, you want to show these suits like differently, and visually seeing like, I don't know if it's toilet paper being wrapped around him. I mean, like it's Egyptian
Right.
fucking,
I was imagining like a mummy, like it just like unfolds and just like engulfs his
Yeah.
body in some kind of way.
Yeah, so visually it's different. So I don't know if they will explain it. If they don't, that won't bother me per se. I feel like they would just say, "Oh, well, it's Egyptian god magic." Like, "Oh, fucking K, what's that?" I don't know.
Right. I feel like we're never going to see him transform into Moon Knight either. I feel like he's always going to come out of a shadow, or they're going to like pan the camera and he's going to be Moon Knight in a sense of like sticking to the splitting of personalities.
I think they probably will show it, because I mean, we got a glimpse of it at the end of the first episode. So I think they were probably like saving it and waiting to tease it for the end of this episode. And now that they've shown it, we can just see it.
Okay.
But then again, I don't know. Maybe it costs money to see the visual effects. Like in the Transformers movies, we never fucking see them transform because it's expensive to see them transform, even though the fucking name of the movie is Transformers. So, I mean, what the hell is the point?
Transformed Earth.
Yes. But I don't know. I like the suit. I like the design of the suit. Going back to it being like Moon Knight having been a ripoff of Batman, I thought we would see it more like in shadow only, or it being more darker. I was surprised. Yeah, it's just all white. It's pure white. You could just see him in broad daylight, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, that's a creative choice. It's different, so I dig it.
I feel like it plays on the moon concept,
Sure.
but in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, you have like the violent transformations, like the Hulk,
Yeah.
where you could see like the host is kind of like in agony. You can
Yeah.
see the pain that actually happens when you're transforming or like removing the suit. I'm curious as to how it feels for either Mark or Steven to transform into Moon Knight, because you kind of get like the possessing at the end where he's just, I don't know if that's the Mark switching or if that's actually the becoming Moon Knight.
Right. On top of that, it'll be interesting to see what Steven thinks of this at all. Because in the first episode, he's such a fish out of water. It seemed like he had no idea that any of this was happening to him.
Right.
So with him having an actual interaction with Mark, and then allowing the Moon Knight persona to literally enwrap him, and how is that going to affect him moving forward?
I feel like it's definitely going to bother him. And I'm interested to see the conversations going forward. Because before he was not aware of the multiple personalities, which is interesting for him if he's not the main host. Like, I feel like if you are the main host, you knowing that you're like transforming or losing time. He's aware because he has all of the gadgets around the bed, the sand to make sure he's not walking, the tape on the door. Which is also interesting because then how is he getting in and out of the apartment if he's never disturbing any of those like traps?
So because like he sets those traps because Steven thinks that he is the main host, obviously.
Right.
He says like he's aware that like his body wants to keep moving without him. So like, are there instances where like he's Mark, and does Mark just come back to the flat, put his cell phone away, and go into the bed and tie his ankle around the chain?
Right.
Like, does Mark do these things too? I don't know.
It's damn. There's just so many questions I have about the show right now. I was gonna say, anything else that you're like you wanted to like nitpick about this first episode, or anything that you thought was like different with this show compared to the other Marvel shows?
I think it's different in the sense that this is really the first time they're introducing a new character to us. So we all knew who Wanda and Vision were. We know who Falcon and the Winter Soldier were. We know who Loki is. Even in What If, like, even though they're different versions of the characters, the episodes were play on their stories that we were familiar with already. And then obviously we all know Hawkeye. This is the first time. This is a brand new character. They're just introducing in the show. So I think the show is different structurally because they're teasing us from Steven's perspective, what life looks like in the MCU through Steven's eyes. And I think for a first episode they did a really good job with intriguing us, with hooking us. And I just hope they can stick the landing. I really hope that I don't want to see a villain switcheroo, and I don't want to see, like, I don't know, so many cameos that Moon Knight takes a backseat to his own show.
No Boba Fett.
If they could avoid if they could avoid those two things, I think they'll have a good show on their hands.
I'll agree.
Especially with like 6 episodes, you're in, you're out. Because I remember when Daredevil first dropped on Netflix, I really liked the show. I never watched beyond season 2, but I really liked seasons 1 and 2 when they first came out. And now trying to rewatch them on Disney Plus, it's like, man, these are all an hour long, and there's like 10 to 13 episodes of them. It takes a lot of time to try and get into it. Whereas I really like that these Disney Plus shows, they're like half an hour to 40 minutes. There's only 5 to 6 episodes. You're in, you're out. So if they could avoid the same structure that they've been having with the rest of the shows, I think they'll be fine. And Moon Knight will be a well-received show, and he'll be good enough to introduce in other spin-off series.
Do you care if you find out how he gets the powers? Is that like crucial information for you? Or can you just like be dropped into this situation, this world where he has the powers, he is Moon Knight, without the explanation of how they or where they came from?
I don't think I personally need an explanation. Since he is a new character, I think they probably will, just because I'm sure they don't want to have too many people confused since he is a brand new character. I just hope that when they do like give us that story, it's not like so heavy-handed and like forced down. I hope they just like, this is what happened. Okay. All right, we're moving on.
I feel like this is going to be like the first half or maybe even the second half of next episode. I feel like they're going to give us a situation where Mark, Khonshu, and Steven are all having a conversation about what the fuck just happened.
Yeah. Or even a flashback where like Mark is talking with Khonshu and then he gives him the powers, and then we flash forward eventually to Steven in the bathroom and he doesn't know what's going on. That way they don't have to explain it so much because we will have seen it by then. And that could be interesting. That could work, I think.
Okay.
Do you think we'll see things from Mark's perspective? Like, you saying you want to see like the action scenes, and any of the action scenes they teased in this episode were cut away from right away because Steven wasn't in them. It was Mark. So do you think we'd ever see Mark's point of view from specifically the scenes just from the first episode?
I feel like we have to.
Okay.
We can't, like, the first episode was cool, how we were jumping back and forth.
Yeah.
We were disoriented with Steven.
Yeah.
But now, since we've become aware of the different personalities and the powers, we have to be brought into the conflict now. So we definitely have to get, like, Mark fighting, and maybe even, I want to hear Steven commentary on the fighting.
Yeah.
Like, because he has to be just, like, shitting his pants up there in his head. Just like, what the fuck's going on? Like, how?
Right.
Because even, like, you mentioned Split. All the other personalities were aware of each other. And they could communicate with one another.
That's true.
And then, like, the more dominant or aggressive ones could take over. I don't necessarily know if it was at will or essentially when they needed to fit, like, the story plot.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So
whatever is most convenient for the plot is what they'll end up doing.
Exactly. So I would still like to see everything happening from Mark's perspective, because I feel like Mark is the more interesting character than Steven. There doesn't seem to be really much to Stephen. He seems pretty meek.
Yeah.
I don't know how he fucking has this job. Like, if you are gone for days
Yeah.
and you don't know, he didn't even know it was fucking Sunday. How did you leave your house? You have a phone. You have all of this thing.
Right.
You show up to the restaurant and you thinking it's fucking Friday and it's Sunday. Like, I don't get how he has a job and he's only being demoted to like inventory.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, so Mark is the more interesting character. I feel like we're going to get a lot more scenes from Mark's perspective. Mm-hmm. And we might even have scenes to where we're flipping to other characters. We're probably going to get more characters. I feel like we're going to get more personalities.
Okay.
So I don't know how much of next episodes are going to introduce more personalities or like the future episodes. But I don't want it to continue to be jumping around. I need to have the complete story.
Yeah.
So, like, I thought it was cool for the first episode, but if they keep this up, I feel like it's just gonna, like, it's gonna get old.
Right. We know what's going on now, so we don't need to keep that gimmick going up. If we're gonna switch to Mark, well, then let's fucking see what Mark does.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And so then...
That makes sense.
Like, are they gonna also... they're gonna have to show us the inner dialogue.
Yeah.
Either through just, like, hearing the voices or, like, the looking in the mirror trick that they did, which is interesting. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then where you have multiple people, are there going to be multiple versions of Oscar Isaac? Or is it just going to be whoever you need to talk to at that moment?
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't, if they do show other personalities, I don't think they'll go too far with it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think they'd probably put a cap on it just because, I mean, how many different personalities realistically can Oscar Isaac portray, you know, without the audience getting confused?
See the acting chops.
Yeah, I mean, if James McAvoy can do it, I guess, you know.
Right. I mean, he was full-on woman, bald head and everything. And I was like, damn, this is kind of a little chilling.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I was expecting the show to be darker than what I've seen so far. It's on Disney, and you just brought in content like Daredevil and Luke Cage and Punisher. So I feel like you're setting a precedent for having more dark material on Disney. Yeah. And I was just expecting like a little bit more brutality within the first episode. Like, we barely see the fight between, I think it's like a jackal, between Moon Knight and the jackal, the Egyptian dog. But everything else is very bright. Even like the night scenes, like there's no you
could see everything,
right. There's no gloom. There's no like ominous presence around the show, and I essentially thought that's what this was going to be. I thought it was going to be like the Batman, like how gloomy, the vengeance kind of like just dark energy that was going to be looming within the world that he's navigating.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to push the envelope with what we've seen so far on Disney Plus. Like, it'll probably be the most brutal / violent Disney Plus show we've seen so far. I don't think they would go so far as to what we've seen in Daredevil and Punisher. I don't think we're gonna see like heads smushed in with like a car door.
Oh yeah.
I think they're like exploring the waters to see what kind of content people are interested in seeing. I don't think they were fully ready to commit to like full-on brooding darkness yet. I mean, this is still, you know, the Marvel brand. They like to appease to everyone.
Yeah.
That being said, it is still the first episode. Like, we could hop into episode 2 and it's just all violence and all action and blood and dark brooding.
Right.
So you never know.
We don't.
I liked the tone of the first episode. I think they did a good job of mixing, like, yes, this is the Marvel world everyone knows and love. It is a little silly, but it can get a little darker. We got some blood.
Got some blood. Had a little dislocated jaw.
Got a dislocated jaw. That was fun. And then Moon Knight beating the shit out of a jackal in a bathroom.
Yeah. I guess
I'll take what I could get.
I'll take what I can get. I enjoy the realism of some of these darker shows. Like Daredevil, where you're seeing the damage.
Yeah.
Along with the character, the hero, and also to the villains. Like in that car scene, you're having people getting kicked out of the back of moving vehicles. I'm assuming like shot at some point, or even like running off the road, and we're just seeing like, oh, the car is flipping, but we're in our head, we know that guy's dead.
Yeah.
But I just want to see a little bit more of that going forward. I'm hoping at
Yep.
least we get more of the darker aspects that I assume Moon Knight will be portraying.
And hopefully, since we probably now will see more from Mark's perspective, that probably will be the case.
Okay.
Instead of like cutting away from what Steven sees and him being scared of everything and trying to avoid all of that, to Mark like full on going to confront people with like intent to either kill or just fuck up, you know?
Yeah. Do you think he's going to be able to pull off the action scenes? Because I feel like he has to be fighting as Mark and not always as Moon Knight.
I think he could. I think Oscar Isaac can. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if like Steven's personality tries to like if he like embraces this persona more, how much of the persona of Moon Knight will seep into his character, into his development, and if he would try to be more badass than he actually is. It gives room for the writers to develop these characters. So either way, I think it's interesting. But I think he could pull it off.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see it. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Is that tomorrow?
That is tomorrow. Yes.
Okay, so yeah.
By the time this is out, you know, it'll already be up, and maybe we'll be eating our words with half the shit we've said already.
So yeah, man. That's pretty much all I had about the first episode.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'll probably watch that. Yeah, I have time, so I'll probably watch that tomorrow. So yeah, we can get the next podcast going.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you haven't seen Morbius by then,
I'm seeing Morbius Sunday, so I have my tickets.
Oof.
I don't know if I
Super
should waste my
excited.
money,
Oh man.
but I'm gonna go see it. We can talk about that next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. So yeah, that's all I had.
All right then.
Good first episode. I give it like a 3.5, 3.75, somewhere in that range.
That's cool. Yeah, I think I don't like rating individual episodes because I don't have the full picture. And I don't like without having the full picture. If I had to do it like if that's what we were gonna be doing, like with the podcast, I think 3.5 is where I would sit.
Yeah. I'm hooked. I want to know more, and I was pleased with what I saw. So
yes.
I think it was a solid first episode, and like you said, let's just stick to landing.
Yeah, keep it up, Marvel. Come on. Like I know it'll be a good episode 2. I know it'll be a good episode 3. Can it be a good episode 5 and 6? That's what I want to know.
Right. All right. So.
All right. Sounds good.